So, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Unity Correspondence course study group, our last meeting of April. And let's just all settle in. Let's establish conscious contact with God, the God who is the only thing going on. We feel that contact in the sensations of our bodies. We feel that contact in the telegraphing of our thoughts. Maybe we even noticed those little flashes of intuition in the depth of our awareness. It's all God. There's only one presence. There's only one power. There's only one love active in the universe. God the good, omnipotent. And in that awareness, I'm going to bring the daily word up onto the screen, I think. And then as that shows up with this cute little dog, who would be willing to read the daily word for us?
I will.
Thank you.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Okay. Blessed is the word, her blessed. I am blessed with peace, calm, and the love of God. Today, if someone asks me how I am, I will smile and respond, I am blessed. This simple declaration will set the tone for the day, encouraging me to notice blessings, large and small, especially the little things I may take for granted. I will also be mindful that God is the source of all my blessings. I find the greatest blessing is in grounding myself in God's grace. It brings me peace, calms my fears, and is a bright guiding light in dark and difficult times. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus described the blessings of life, reminding those gathered that the truest wealth is not measured by money and power. I take those words to heart and feel deeply grateful. I am spiritually blessed, enriched by God's unwavering love. And from Matthew, blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God.
Wow. Thanks, Diane.
You're welcome.
I am blessed with peace, calm, and the love of God. Let's affirm that together. I am blessed with the peace, calm, and
the
love of God.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So, resting in that blessed feeling, we come to this really interesting question that we left our time together with last week. Why are we not always conscious of our oneness with God? So who would like to read? Let's read all three paragraphs, 32, 33, and 34. Who would be willing to do that for us?
I'm happy to.
Thank you.
Why are we not always conscious of our oneness with God? Very often we find the words aware and conscious being used synonymously, but in the strictest sense, this is not accurate. The following quotation is very clear on this point. Aware pertains to that which is external to oneself, to outer impressions driven inward. Conscious to that which is internal, to the inner feeling that may be held within or be forced out to manifest itself in reaction to some sort. The above quotation is taken from the book now of print by John Opdyke, I guess is how it is. Consciousness is related to what a person has actually experienced, either mentally, emotionally, or physically. Then the question may arise, if we are the offspring of divine mind, why are we not naturally conscious of its presence and our oneness with it? The answer is that while we may be aware of being sons of God through intellectual study or our religious beliefs, we do not actually feel this to be true. Thus, our belief in separation has produced states of mind that have formed a consciousness of separation. We are not always conscious of our oneness with God because the states of mind that have accepted the belief in God as being apart from us and as ourself as merely a flesh and blood being. Part of our divine inheritance is free will, and this means freedom to think, feel, speak, and act as we choose. If we believe in separation from our Creator, then our thinking, feeling, speaking, and acting build a consciousness of separation, and we are not conscious of our oneness with God. Footnote number 1 in paragraph 33, we do, quote, we do not actually feel this to be true. Feeling is of the subconscious mind. When the conscious mind and subconscious mind are in conflict, we do not feel whole of ourself. And number 2 in 34, the statement of the belief in God as being apart from us. When we forget, we do not feel one with God.
Thank you, Gretchen. There's a few interesting points in here. Any reactions, thoughts, questions?
I'm still noodling on what we read a week or 2 weeks ago, which is God is in the subconscious mind. And so when Gretchen read that feeling is of the subconscious mind, I was reminded of that boggling statement that God is in the subconscious mind. I was still working on that one, still chewing on that one.
How does that feel?
Mystical.
Thanks, Claudia. Anybody else?
It's interesting to think of all the ways, the need for us to become one with our divine mind and consciousness, and ways that can happen. Meditation, I haven't tried it, but I suppose ayahuasca or something. I mean, it's like there's lots of ways to get there, and most of us are not there most of the time.
Music.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. Thank you for that, Della. Gretchen?
Yeah, I was curious about where the word aware comes from. And it is, their origin is meaning watchful or cautious. And so I like that distinction between awareness is kind of from the outside coming in through a watchfulness. So I'm watching what's happening outside and I'm making connectivities with that with my inner, as opposed to consciousness being something that is kind of germinating from within and is manifesting out. And my sense is that that is a loop, that's a circuit. And so to be clear of where am I in awareness versus where am I in consciousness, and where are the places of transition point between those two. Thanks.
Thank you, Gretchen. John?
This is something that I struggle with in my attempt to understand feeling emotion from just what it means. I don't know how many books have been written on describing emotion and feeling. And feeling is, in this context, a physical thing that comes from within. And it informs. So usually when I ask somebody what they're feeling, they say what they think, trying to get to the feeling. And my experience is feelings are physical sensations in the body. And then when I breathe and listen, it informs what I'm going to say. And when I talk about this difference between the five sense, see, hear, taste, touch is feeling things from the outside, smooth, rough. The feeling that I'm hearing them discuss is something from within, and it's a frequency, physical frequency in the body. And as I attune, it's like a portal to imagination, inspiration, intuition. And I find myself saying things from that place that are different than what I might have thought about. What am I feeling instead of feeling? Thank you.
Thanks, John.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
As some of you may know, about 2 weeks ago, I had eye surgery, and I had an unusual impression and expression under sedation that made me aware for the first time of the difference between conscious mind and unconscious mind, or superconscious. While I was undergoing La La Land sedation, my daily conscious mind was really put to sleep, but I was actually hearing everything that the surgeon and his operating team were talking about, which had nothing to do with my surgery. They were having a conversation, and I realized I'm fully aware of what they are saying. I'd actually like to join the conversation. But my mouth and my voice did not operate with the sedation to actually join this. But I realized that I was listening and I was active with the superconscious because it wasn't overridden by my conscious mind at that time, which had been sedated. And it was very unusual, but I was aware of two states of consciousness, one asleep and one not. And it was very nice to have that superconscious be able to rise easily and just be aware of everything that's going on. In fact, I wanted to participate, but that was not going to happen. The sedation took care of, no, you're not joining their conversation. Has anyone ever had some kind of a sensation of two consciousnesses like that?
That just tells me, Diane, that you never did drugs.
You're right about that. Interesting.
Nicely said, Claudia.
If I'm listening to you carefully, there might even have been three levels of consciousness because there was the level of consciousness that was aware of the two levels.
Oh, I had not thought about that.
Yeah. And funny, Marty, I was thinking about that too, because I was thinking the part of you that maybe wanted to participate was the subconscious, and it was the superconscious that said, "Oh, you're good." I mean, you could make an argument either way around, but
Maybe it was a witness to my own consciousness.
Yes, you were the
Yes.
witness. It
yes.
kind of goes back. Well, when John was talking, I thought when he was talking about conscious and superconscious, well, conscious mind and subconscious mind, I thought, and feeling, I thought, it's almost like anytime you try to put words to what you're experiencing, you move yourself out of the subconscious into the conscious because now you're trying to label it. And labeling comes from the conscious mind. Words come from the conscious mind. And kind of the same thing with your experience, Diane. You just weren't going to come out to be able to participate in the conversation in the conscious level.
Interesting. Good observation. Thank you, Claudia.
I wanted to comment about my eye surgery because I was given nothing.
Ooh.
no sedation, no anesthesia. And I could have participated in the conversation, but I wasn't about to because I needed to be still as they put these instruments in my eyes. So I was completely still. And I did okay with that. But what I was trying to get to was that place where Rumi talks about meet me in the field, where I meet my spirit. I wanted away from my body and what was going on with it. It wasn't like I was trying to pretend it wasn't going on. I just wanted the peace and relief that I would get by connecting with spirit in that experience. So I don't know what level was I searching for there then? Anybody?
Interesting.
I mean, it's just I don't know if that's that place where I connect with spirit, like when I meditate, or is that considered the
You know, Christine,
unconscious, or I don't know.
your example just took something in me. Our book group just finished reading Letters to My Daughter by Maya Angelou. And in it's a series of, it's like stories, like quick stories of her life. And she was raped when she was 7 years old. And and so she told somebody, and then the person was sent to prison, and then they got out of prison after 1 month, and then he was murdered. And so she, as a little girl, as a 7-year-old, thought, my words have power. So she stopped speaking for 5 years and never spoke another word. But where I'm going with this, that you triggered with me, Christine, is that she said that in that 5 years of not speaking, she had the ability to be um, in her own awareness because she never had to worry about art speaking. She never was formulating in her mind, like, what was she going to say next? She was always in the moment with that, with whatever was being said, because she knew she wasn't going to talk. She just made the commitment to not speak. So, hooking back to what you said, or looping back to what you said, you were in that space where you knew you weren't going to speak because you were focused on something else. And maybe it allowed your conscious mind to disengage and go to someplace else, or to go to the subconscious, or go to the field, as you said with Rumi.
Yeah, yeah. It can work to your favor for sure. And I guess maybe we could do that more often, even when we're not in eye surgery, even in the regular mundane days that we experience. And we would probably get a lot of benefits. But I mean, if I'm on a table being operated on, of course I'm going to be still. But if I've got a bunch of things to do at home and I need to check them off my list, I'm not really going to take that time. So I guess it's a lesson to learn that I can go there more than in such crises.
To make a comment here, a difference without a distinction. When Diane talks about eye surgery and Christine talks about eye surgery, uh, Diane did not have surgery on her eye or eyeball. She had eye surgery on her eyelids and to correct some things there. So that might be different than the experience that you had, Christine.
Yeah, totally. I'm just referring to me being able to be fully conscious, but choosing not to, and going into the place of spirit. And so that is different, the two types that we were dealing with. Yeah.
I had the impression that my daily conscious, the one we're all operating with right now, sort of sits on top of or monitors that subconscious and dominates over it. It's only when I'm under something like sedation that I realize, oh, there's somebody else in there. And I really enjoyed knowing that I had freed up something through sedation, the ability of the unconscious to speak to me, and I could, it made sense. But for sure, it was not my conscious mind because that was sound asleep. I
And
don't know.
yet, and
Maybe
yet
one
you
rides
were,
on top of the other. I don't know.
well, I was going to say you can't call it the unconscious if you're aware of it.
Well, you can, I think you can if you're just a witness. But you may be right.
Well, I've known there was somebody else in there for years.
Enough.
Well, we can, no, it's important. We can actually achieve a similar state through meditation.
Yeah.
So in meditation, how many times do we just sit and get to the point where we can, with great equanimity, just watch what's going on?
Mhm.
And what's going on could be crazy, could be chaotic, could be frightening, but the part of us that's watching is not engaged with the emotional tinge of the thoughts.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I'm also thinking about what Christine, what you said, or what I heard you say about the Rumi poem. I forget the words, but it's beyond thoughts of something. There's a field, and I've always read that to mean beyond the thinking mind, there's a consciousness that's that's unifying everything. So when he says, "I'll meet you there," and we'll lie down. Again, I don't have it in front of me, but um, I always read that as it's the place of unity, which is the divine consciousness of God, God mind, which is kind of what all this is focusing on. This section that we're reading here.
Gretchen put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you. Would somebody read that? I don't want to. I don't want to get the chat up while I'm recording.
I'll read it.
Thank you.
It's out beyond ideas of right doing and wrongdoing. There is a field. I will meet you there. For the soul that lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Words, phrases, even the idea of each other makes no sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you. So Rumi can do that in like what, 5 or 6 lines, what it's taken the correspondence course to do in 18 lessons.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
What I like is that Gretchen put the whole part in, because I was very familiar with out beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. But I wasn't very familiar with that second, where the soul lies down in that grass.
Yeah,
That's really powerful because that is the oneness of us all.
Yeah.
right. So that's for me, that's what Rumi's he's trying to use language. Of course, he was writing in Persian, but he was trying to use language to express that which cannot be expressed in language because it's a state of awareness. So even if we listen carefully, even when Diane and Christine attempt to explain their experience with the eye surgery, we're listening to their words and we're interpreting their words with our little filters. And the exact experience that they had is not, they can't convey it. Not because they're not skillful. It's just not, I can't, we can't do that. We don't have that. At the level of conscious mind, we don't have the power to do that. But in the subconscious field, when we lie down in that grass, none of these words mean anything.
So I just put into the chat something that I read today that I thought was very powerful. And it was related to an article on Pope Leo and President Trump. And to me, it was, I'll read it, in uncertain times in which we find it hard to know whether the twilight is a beginning of a new day or the falling of night. I believe the possibility of rediscovering hope for tomorrow lies in our collective ability to honor everyone today. And that to me kind of says a similar thing, which is, and I love the part about, is it the dawning of the day or is it the twilight? Because those two, the lighting in those two parts of the day are so similar. So,
I want to say yes. It's letting go of something and realizing something else. It's all happening at the same time. So it's a twilight and a, yeah.
Well,
regardless of what it is, there's hope.
Yes.
So has this question been answered for us? Why are we not always conscious of our oneness with God?
Listen more, talk less.
Well, that's a suggestion what to do about it, but it doesn't, does that answer the why question?
I think it does. I
Okay.
think in the listening is God, and in the talking is ego. So we're not always conscious of our oneness with God
Okay.
when we're in egoic mind,
Okay. Dick?
Well,
the
here,
egoic mind says.
what I've been thinking about through this about a guy I used to listen to on tape. He was a AA speaker, and he was just kind of on the speakers tour where you go to different AA retreats. And his name was Jimmy W. And I doubt he's even alive still. This was years and years ago. I used to listen to him. But he had an interesting statement about faith that I think kind of maybe applies to this. And this would be pretty close to an exact quote. We only develop faith by having had the experience of being dealt with by God Himself.
hmm.
And I, what I got out of that when I heard it was, I'm always trying to reason my way into stuff or talk myself into stuff. And he was saying you get faith by letting God be involved with you. And so, in answer to why are we not always conscious of our oneness with God, one of my problems is I think I'm in charge of it. So I'm always trying to figure it out or work it out or reason it out or whatever. And what I seem to be learning is I'll get a relationship with God by surrender and allowing God to work within me and within my life. And in other words, by spectating on my relationship with God. And I've always remembered that. And I thought about I didn't say anything right away because our next question for next week is how we are awakened to the knowledge of God. And that would be answered by the same quote. We get the experience of faith by having had the experience of being dealt with by God Himself. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Dick.
I hope we don't have to wait until next week to go to 35.
So in paragraph 34, the declaration is we are not always conscious of our oneness with God because of the states of mind that have accepted belief in God as a being apart from us. So would you notice that word accepted? So what's the flip side of that? It's like, okay, I intend to accept belief in God as being in me, or I affirm that I am one with God. there's a there's a desire element of this. Why am I accepting this? Well, in my subconscious mind's because that's what I want. And so I intend to retrain my subconscious mind to want unity and to see unity and to experience unity with God. Although, as Dick has implied, we might get other answers in the next paragraph.
Well, before you go on, Marty, the idea uh, that God is apart from us, to me, gets to the idea that uh, we're all part of a universe, and that's what we refer to when we refer to God. You know, the whole society refers to God and the reference to him as a separate being, but that he has something to do with our life. So all the things that take place in our lives that are whatever, but generally when they're good things happen, we're thankful for God. But if you stop and look at all the things that govern our lives, the blessings that one person connected to another, some particular event that happens that is totally different. I've made the reference to my car suddenly dying, and as I pull off the road, the next thing that happens, the sheriff pulls up and wants to know if I need help. Can I take you home? And that to me is sort of an answer to the God is there, but he's also part of me because he knew that I needed help, and there was somebody to take place of it. So did I confuse everybody?
No.
No, not at all. I'm just in that place of thinking about the circuit of awareness and consciousness, and that acceptance, I think, is that transfer point. If awareness is information coming in from the outside, driven inward, and consciousness is held within, and then the third A is action. That consciousness is the place where the acceptance of the belief occurs. And if there is awareness of something on the outside, and inside is that belief of God's going to take care of me no matter what, then that resulting action that comes out of that is in alignment with that. And that's what I heard you say, Velton. And not because you brought it forward, but because of the manifestation of the alignment of the core fundamental belief that God is in you and with you and through you and by you at all times. And then that pours out in the manifested world. I should preface to say that there's three A's in Al-Anon: awareness, acceptance, and action. And the connectivity point of when does something go from awareness to acceptance, and then what is germinates from that acceptance to action is something I've just been thinking about for a really long time. Thanks.
Thanks, Gretchen. One of the things that these paragraphs sparked in me was this question: is there consciousness without something to be conscious of?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
I would say yes.
I mean, we say that a little baby is conscious. We say that animals are conscious
Mhm.
without necessarily are they capable. When I was a 1 year old, I remember nothing. So I was conscious, but I wasn't conscious of.
Hmm.
And I'm wondering if the this is the cycle. I think this is my interpretation of the cycle that Gretchen you were talking about, is that it's required to be conscious of in order to recognize what consciousness actually is. And it's not important it turns out it's not important what we're conscious of, because in divine mind there's nothing to be conscious of, because divine mind is everything. And for me, that goes back to the conundrum that Claudia you raised about the feeling in the subconscious mind, which is if I just be present. That's what I love about meditation. I'm just the practice of presence. And there's no tomorrow, there's no yesterday, there's only this moment, and there's only God.
Right.
Marty, go back and say that again. That conscious with conscious up. Could you say that again?
Yeah, so the question this is from my years of study with Ken Wilber, but the question is, can we be conscious without something to be conscious of?
Okay, so why that's a powerful question. Even as a even as a 1-year-old, even as a 5-month-old, even my dog feels love. So you are conscious. I
Right.
believe you are conscious,
Yeah.
even if you can't articulate it or, I mean, you know it because, if I hit you, you will experience an emotion. If I can't even imagine that, I don't want to go there, but so anyway, I know a baby responds to love, and I know my dog did. So,
Well, and you did when you were a baby,
I uh, I did.
but
I did.
we don't have any awareness of that we did that.
Do we not have a awareness, or we do not have a memory?
Good question. I see some hands, so let's see what others have to say. Gretchen and then Leo.
Yeah, I am interpreting what you're talking about, Claudia, as awareness. That the baby and the dog and the plant that we speak to and its response, I conceive of that as there's an awareness. Consciousness, I think, is held for people. I'm just formulating this as I'm saying it. And it is it's an integration of the what comes in from awareness and the meaning inside of that, because there are people who have an awareness of love, but they have an idea inside of their consciousness that says love equals pain because of old experiences and old ideas. And we can say that maybe that is in the subconsciousness, that's where the memory lives. And so then the action that's resulted from that is something that adheres to their idea of pain. But that doesn't mean that they're not aware that love is. It's just there's a different formulation of the meaning of that, and that the consciousness has that is that internal meaning of that experience that's coming in from the outside. That's why I love this quote, is it really breaks down what's the difference between that which comes in and that which I experience it to be. That's just my thought on that. I could be
Thank,
wrong.
thank you. Leo?
I start with an example and then I go to an idea. I'm now talking about peripheral vision. I've been listening a lot to Edgar Casey, and in one of these sessions, he's talking about using salt to protect your environment. And an hour later, I stepped out. I took just normal household salt, and I was throwing that around my house. And in my peripheral vision, there was a column of white, violet lights that immediately started there. But the moment I put my attention there, it was gone. So what I'm talking about is that awareness or consciousness can be disputed what's in the mind, what we, let's say, believe in our foundation. So I can look at something, say, that's a bird there. Wow, what's he doing? I look closer. No, it's just a dark piece of paper there. But my perception started to guess about being a bird, and it started to look like a bird. So if we're talking about something we can't really explain, there's going to be a lot of interactions there between all kinds of minds until something says conclusion. And then the picture solidifies and we say, that's it. Or just an idea. Thank you.
Thanks, Leo. You put me in mind of the has any of us seen those drawings where when you look at it, it looks like one thing, and then the more you look at it, it looks like something else?
Yes.
So we're talking about the senses and what they tell us and what we accept about what is there. And then we come, about what we call the uncertainty of God, because we can't put it in our foundational ideas that we already have in our own day-to-day experience or what we got from our family, whatever. So then we reason it out. So we experience something, we put it in our central vision, and we say, isn't possible. Can be. But I know for sure, I saw that column of light when I was distributing that salt. I saw that column of light arising. Amazing.
It's almost like the thinking interferes with the consciousness.
Yeah.
Yes.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
Again, that's why meditation was such a breakthrough for me, because it taught me a method to not think, but to be able to. This is where I've experienced double consciousness, to be able to watch the thoughts and yet feel the energy that thinking often generates in my body. Like a thought of something frightening can generate uh, adrenaline, or the thought of something pleasant can generate dopamine, and then have those experiences. Yet, just as with Diane and her surgery, there's a part of me when I'm meditating, this is sort of watching it all, and is utterly unconnected to the actual experiential part of it. And that's
Looks
what
like
I
we.
associate with divine mind. Although everything's divine mind, including the experiential parts. Shall we take a shot at seeing if what we know what we're talking about according to the correspondence course? Who will read 35 for us? Or who will read the title of the section and then the 35?
I will.
Thanks, Stella.
How are we awakened to the knowledge of God? No one can impart truth to another. It must be individually experienced, and it is experienced only as we become conscious of it. Meditation and prayer are the processes by which we first become aware of the truth of our relationship to God. But it is only as we enter into the silence that we are actually awakened to his presence and are then conscious of our oneness with him. The quickening of our soul to the knowledge of God involves definite action on our part. Our positive, truth-filled words, affirmations, become the invitation to the God presence to reveal itself to our soul. Footnote 1, the truth of our relationship to God. when we experience oneness with God. 2, the quickening of our soul. When the conscious mind and the subconscious mind are quickened, we experience wholeness within ourselves.
And thank you, Della. Would you be willing to just bring us to the
Yep.
end? Read the next part.
The 3rd chapter of the Gospel of John is very enlightening with regard to the development of divine consciousness, or the awakening to the knowledge of God. The following quotation sums up the true character of God and our relationship to him. The truth is then, 1, that God is principle, law, being, mind, spirit, all good, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, unchangeable, creator, father, cause, and source of all that is. 2, that God is individually formed in consciousness in each of us and is known as Father when we recognize him within as our creator, as our mind, our life, our very being. 3, that mind has ideas and that ideas have expression, and that all manifestation in our world is the result of the ideas that we are holding in mind and are expressing. 4, that to bring forth or to manifest the harmony of divine mind or the kingdom of heaven, all our ideas must be one with divine ideas and must be expressed in the divine order of divine mind.
Thank you, Della. Thoughts?
Meditate more.
Okay. Leo.
To add grace. And that is because these last 2 weeks I've been, how do you say that? Being immersed in the process of creating grace. And before, I thought grace was something that came from the outside.
Your hair stops holding you back. You'll wear it down. And for the first time in a while, you'll.
What happened was I listened to one more time Edgar Casey, and he was surprised that certain beings having a really wild life were able to get, how you say that, compensation or forgiveness for their sins without actually going through the karma. And the way Edgar Casey explained it is that grace is a higher law from the same idea, the same principle as the law of karma. The law of karma being that it needs to be worked out in the stuff, and while grace can be an action where we look on what we are doing and we start to understand all sides of that event. And when we see that and we understand the lesson, then grace kicks in and it just wipes out any outstanding guilt. But the funny thing is that Edgar then says not only by that individual, but the whole group that was committed to that karma. So the whole karma debt of a whole group is being absolved by one being that takes on the idea of invoking grace. And that for me is really presence of God. And I'm totally in awe. These last 2 weeks have been for me, I cannot explain, I cannot express it. It's a total new life. I can tell you that. Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. And good work.
I have an affirmation that comes up on my calendar, and I can't remember where I got it from, but it's a very short phrase that goes, grace upon me, deserved, no matter what.
no matter what. Other thoughts, reactions, questions, disagreements? Yeah, Dick.
Yeah, I was telling you about the lesson that I felt I learned from Jimmy W. But a couple of years ago, even though I agreed with that I was going to have to experience God in some way to find out what I needed to know. I finally just said two prayers, and they're kind of weird ones, but they actually were changed things for me. And the first was, God, I intend for you to show me how you are. And God, I intend for you to show me how you want me to relate to you. And that was my idea of following out the Jimmy W thing. I'm just going to surrender and let experience God in whatever way God would like me to experience God. And so far, I've had good luck with that as a choice. Living it is not always as easy as saying it, but that's it for me. Thanks.
So, Dick, would you be willing to consider that it might not be luck, but it might be the law?
Yeah. Actually, I guess that's what I'm saying.
Cool. This is the end of this lesson, which we've been working on since the beginning of the year. And in paragraph 36 that Della just read for us, is the summary by quoting Charles Fillmore from Christian Healing of what we looked at, read, discussed, shared over the past couple of months. So we got about 5 minutes to go here. So let's open it for any last comments or insights about this entire period of time and what we've been sharing and reading, for anybody that would like to chime in.
My thought here in this last part of this discussion is the trying to understand this. And what the thought came to me, Christ, Jesus, showed us what it looked like. And the quote that he said at 12 to his parents about them worrying about where he was, and I'm probably paraphrasing, don't you know that I'm about my Father's business? And that's what, with that intent, with that awareness, with that consciousness, he interacted with and created his disciples and did his miracles and did his life. So the action, the awareness, the consciousness, what we're trying to figure out, was exemplified in his action based on what he intended or what he knew. Don't you know I'm about my Father's business? And then it's like a dynamic. It's not like I got this one thing, oh, I got it. It's this dynamic thing, flow thing. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
I think we're aware of a lot more than we're conscious of. That's what I take away from all of this. And because that first sentence in the last section it says that that the pathway for that transformation is consciousness of it. And so, whether it's the intent language that Dick and John are talking about, whether it is, Emily Cady talks about it in her own way about the right use of the will, all those things about moving things from awareness states into consciousness states, and that's the individual adventure, is that piece. Thanks.
Thank you. Dick.
I hate to barge in with a personal thing here,
Oh,
but
please
somebody
do.
was sending me a message, I think, and I don't know how to respond. I'm not that computer sharp. So if you'll understand that I'm not really ignoring you if you were trying to sending me a message.
You mean like a chat?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I tried to fiddle with it a little bit here and I got nowhere. And I'll probably have to
Dick,
have my what?
Dick, I sent you my email. If you respond to it, I would like to forward a conversation I had with Kitchen, and I would like to include you in that.
I would appreciate that. I don't know from where I'm sitting right now how I can give you my email or you can give me yours, but
I'll
I, I
I'll
s-
uh I'll do that for you guys afterwards.
thank you. I appreciate it, Marty.
Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, are we ready to start a new chapter?
How exciting.
Save it for next time.
I know we still have a little ways to go here, my friends. But I just like before we do our prayer for protection, I'd just like to make a comment, go back to I thought it was entirely appropriate that we started today with Diane's experience of multiple layers or dimensions of consciousness.
Yeah.
And I think that's got some real information for everybody, certainly for me. And um, and then I think, Gretchen, you said something to the effect of we all experience or we are in these layers of the divine consciousness that are still to be revealed. And that's
You said it way better than me. So, yes.
okay. For those of us that used to be part of Christ Unity Church, Phil and Dorothy Pearson's ministry for many years, their motto was, "The best is yet to be." And so maybe that's part of what they meant. So with that, let's say our prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, so much for your open-hearted sharing and contributing to my personal spiritual growth. I'm really grateful.
Well, thank you, Marty, and everybody have a great week.
See you in May.
Oh, that's right.
Yep, already.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.